The first day at a new school is never easy. For Aiden Cole, it felt less like walking into a building and more like stepping into an arena, just not the kind he was trained for. The hallway buzzed with noise, a chaotic mix of chatter, slamming lockers, and sneakers dragging across polished floors. Every sound seemed to echo louder for him. Eyes tracked him instantly, sharp and curious, like predators circling something unfamiliar. Aiden kept his head low, his backpack hanging off one shoulder, breathing slowly the way his coach once taught him. Stay calm, stay centered, but blending in wasn't an option here. Not when a place like this could smell a newcomer the way sharks sense blood in the water. It didn't take long for trouble to find him. At lunch, it happened. 3 boys, big, loud, and too confident for their own good, blocked his path near the vending machines. Their leader, Chad, stepped forward, wearing a smug grin that told Aiden he'd done this 100 times. "New kid," Chad sneered. "You don't belong here." Aiden didn't answer. Years of MMA training had built discipline into his bones: control, patience, restraint. But to guys like Chad, silence wasn't calmness. It was weakness. The first shove was light, almost teasing. The second knocked the breath out of him, slamming him against the cold metal of the vending machine. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Chad snapped. Leaning in, then came the threat, sharp, ugly, and meant to provoke. "Hand over your lunch money, or we teach you a lesson you won't forget." The lesson Chad had in mind was nothing like the one Aiden was capable of giving. But Aiden's father, his first MMA coach, and the strictest man he knew, had drilled a rule into him since he was 12. Never throw the first punch unless you have absolutely no choice. Chad didn't care about rules. The shove turned into a raised fist. Then Chad swung. That was the moment Aiden's instincts took over. His body reacted before his mind had time to catch up. A smooth sidestep, a sharp parry. Chad's fist sliced through empty air instead of Aiden's jaw. Aiden still didn't strike back. Not yet. He simply looked at Chad, calm and unshaken, and that silent confidence rattled the bully more than a punch ever could. But Chad's 2 friends weren't done. They lunged at him at the same time, arms flailing. Aiden moved like smoke slipping under a swing, shifting to the side, letting their own momentum betray them. One of the boys stumbled forward, nearly crashing to the floor as Aiden redirected him with barely a touch. A crowd had started forming. Students gasping and whispering like they were watching a scene out of an action movie instead of a school hallway. "Stop dodging, you coward," Chad roared, charging again. This time, Aiden didn't dodge. Before Chad's punch could land, Aiden caught his wrist midair, twisted it into a clean joint, lock firm enough to bring sharp pain, gentle enough not to cause real damage. Jan stepped back with complete control. "I'm not here to fight," Aiden said quietly, voice steady as steel. "But if you make me..." He let the unfinished sentence hang between them like a warning no one could misunderstand. Chad and his crew finally stepped back. Unsure for the first time, they muttered insults to save face, but they didn't try again that day. As Aiden walked off, the crowd quietly parted for him, a few students even clapping under their breath like they'd just witnessed something legendary. But the next week, that was worse. The bullies didn't stop, they just switched tactics. They whispered rumors behind his back, mocked him when teachers weren't looking, tried to trip him in crowded hallways. Aiden kept his cool, forcing himself to breathe, to remember everything his father taught him. But deep down, frustration sat heavy on his chest. He'd switched schools, hoping for a fresh start after losing his father so suddenly it still didn't feel real. All he wanted was peace. Instead, every day felt like another test, another moment where he had to defend his dignity without crossing the line into violence. Then, one afternoon, things escalated. After gym class, Chad and his crew cornered him behind the bleachers, blocking the exit with smug grins. "No crowd now," Chad taunted. "Let's see if you can dance without an audience." Aiden exhaled slowly. "You don't want to do this," but they rushed him anyway. This time, Aiden didn't merely dodge, he flowed. A sweep of his leg, a quick feint, a sidestep so smooth it looked rehearsed. Within seconds, all three boys were on the ground, clutching their ribs and groaning. Not badly hurt, just completely humiliated. Aiden crouched beside Chad. "You think strength is just about who hits hardest?" he said softly. "It's not. Real strength is knowing when not to hit at all." Word spread like wildfire. The new kid wasn't just good at fighting, he was a champion. A former junior MMA title holder. But what shocked everyone more was his humility. He never showed off, never sought revenge, never threw the first punch. Instead, he spent his free time teaching other students simple self-defense moves behind the gym. Kids who once walked with their heads down started carrying themselves taller, more confident. One afternoon, Chad appeared at the edge of the group. He didn't speak at first, he just watched. After a long, awkward silence, he muttered, "Can you teach me too?" Aiden smiled gently. "Yeah, but it's not just about fighting. It's about discipline." By the end of the semester, something incredible had happened. The bullies weren't bullies anymore, and the hallways felt lighter, now comrade for the first time since losing his father. Aiden felt like he was finally carrying on his legacy, not in a roaring championship ring, not under bright lights or in front of a cheering crowd, but in the quiet, everyday moments his dad always said mattered most. By standing strong, by protecting people who couldn't protect themselves, by teaching others that real strength comes from respect, not fear. When graduation finally arrived, no one talked about Aiden as the new kid anymore, and no one cared that he was an MMA champion. What they remembered was something far bigger. He was the guy who changed the school, without ever throwing a punch he didn't have to. As he walked across the stage to get his diploma, applause filled the gym. It wasn't loud because he'd won fights, it was loud because he'd taught everyone a different way to stand tall. And somewhere inside, Aiden felt it, a quiet warmth, a steady pride. He knew his dad would have been smiling, proud not of the fighter he was, but of the man he'd become.